Attention, fans of Unfinished Business Television, we're thrilled to announce our proud partnership with Super 7, the ultimate destination for collectors and pop culture enthusiasts alike. Visit super74.com/AJEPYX today. Use promo code AJEPYX, and let's keep the good times rolling here at Unfinished Business Television.
Hey guys, welcome back. Yes, that's right. We're back with another new Unfinished Business Television episode. And guess what? This episode's all got reviews. And this will be our May edition. So are you ready for this, boys and girls? If so, hi, I'm Jeff Gallishaw, your host, known on social media as Unfinished B1. And with me, as always, is Mixmaster Andre Joseph of AJ Epics Productions.
Before we get to this episode, I just want to say a special rest in peace to our dear friend, Mr. James Foley.
Yes, agreed. He was a great guy, great interview, great career, just great. And that kind of put it down, or just but
we want us to push on.
Yes. So we are going to go with our first film review, and we're going to talk about One of Them Days, starring Keke Palmer and SZA, a person who Andre likes to bring up, but has never listened to her music. This is a comedy about it's kind of a female Friday, about two roommates who lose their rent money to SZA's boyfriend and are trying to get their rent money, but also Keke has a job interview to better herself with a better job. And she's running around the neighborhood, and it's all the hijinks, and there's plenty of cameos and supporting roles by comedians like Cat Williams, Little Rel. We also have kind of a romantic subplot for Miss Keke. And, I saw this film in theaters, and I'm a huge fan of Keke Palmer. She's always a little sister in my head. And I was happy to see her, finally getting her due. She's better than the material here, but it all works with her. And her relationship with SZA is believable somewhat. You believe, they're homegirls. But obviously, Keke's the better performer because this is SZA's first acting role. And she's pretty good. She doesn't embarrass herself. And again, throughout the film, it's like one hijink next to the other. I really laughed a lot at this film. Unfortunately, there are a few little things, that you notice plot-wise and story-wise that are like, yeah, okay. But I enjoyed the ensemble nature of it. Little Rel really didn't need a cameo in this movie other than to just be a name on the cast list. I enjoyed Janelle James's little cameo at the blood bank. I really enjoyed this film. I would give it a recommend because it's energetic, it's fun, it's a hood comedy, but it's not an insulting hood comedy. The only weak part is the villain at the end because he comes out of nowhere. He just shows up and like, yeah, I'm a problem now. And I'm like, as big as this dude is, really? You really like those Jordans that much, sir? And it has, the obligatory white girl in it, Maude Apatow, in this film. Like I said, I recommend it. I enjoy it. It didn't bother me. It's weaknesses didn't bother me. And I think it's an enjoyable film just to watch and sit down, enjoy by yourself or with friends. Andre, what did you think of One of Them Days?
I don't think it was that bad, but it definitely felt like a relic of a different era, like the era of Friday and House Party to me. Keke Palmer definitely holds up the material. I agree. And she does have good chemistry with SZA, who I mistakenly called Scissors during the Super Bowl this year and got mocked by some white kids for that. Shout out to Fred Como. So, that kind of at least they have some energy to hold the material together. But I feel like, yeah, I've seen this movie way too many times, even if it's from the female perspective. I think some of the jokes land, some of them don't. The villain at the end, I agree, also comes way too late in the game. And I have my own speculation, just personally. No, because I know that actor was on Snowfall. He played Damson Idris's uncle on that show. And his last name is Joseph, which makes me wonder if he's a distant relative. So, Amin Joseph, please come on the show so we could talk and maybe get this straightened out. Bit a mild recommendation. I think if you're just looking for a waste of time, it's probably decent enough to sit through. Otherwise, I wasn't that crazy about it.
Do you think Amin Joseph might have been the actor who Nick Mancuso worked with and thought was you?
No, he showed me that actor, and I never even heard of that guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm shocked. I thought you'd give it a stronger recommendation. Well, I guess we'll have to wait till Doja Cat makes a film so you can then learn another modern day R&B singer. So
Who's the other girl who wears the Meta glasses in that Meta commercial?
I don't know what he meta.
She's supposed to be like a big time pop star. I don't know her name.
We'll put something under the screen once we figure out who it
Yeah,
is.
the YouTube that commercial.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't remember seeing. But it's my own fault because I probably zone out as soon as I see Meta glasses. I'm just like, I become Anna Faris in the house. So that was one of them days, which criminally doesn't even use the Monica song at all.
You're right. I was thinking about it. Where's that song coming in?
Exactly. I'm like, okay, maybe they'll do it over the end credit. Nope. Lost opportunity, or was it just not in the butt? I need answers. And so next we are going to tackle a horror film with comedic elements by the name of Heart Eyes, directed by Josh Rubin, and no relation to Joseph Rubin of the Good Son fame. It stars Mason Gooding, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son, who you might remember from the latter Scream sequels. Olivia Holt, the luminous Gigi Zimbardo, is Michaela Watkins, the heavenly Jordana Brewster, my man Devin Sawa, and Yosun An is how do I put this film? It's still better than any Fast and Furious movie I've seen with Jordana Brewster, other than the first one. I really wanted to like this film, but it felt like an unused draft for My Bloody Valentine scene, only more comedic. Because even certain scenes with the gore, it seemed like maybe this should have been filmed in 3D, and maybe that would have been better. It's not a bad film. I'd say if you're really into horror and you like your horror, I guess, kind of comedic, this is maybe right up your alley. But the problem with the film is that I think it plays more on the romantic comedy aspects and then just happens to add in some gore later. And I wasn't surprised the way the film feels, considering who wrote it. Well, one of the writers is Christopher Landon. So it felt like some of his work, even though Happy Death Day at least had more emotions. Every emotion felt false. And no offense to the lead actress, Olivia Holt, she does what she's supposed to do, but I would have been so much more interested if Gigi Zambudo played the lead role, or they gave her character more to do, because I'm just like I guess with Shakespeare or most romantic comedies, the supporting cast is much more interesting than the two lovers at the center of. That was the same problem I had with that Glenn Powell, Marley Shelton film. I like the supporting cast way more than I like the two leads, even though they're the stars. And so that's how I felt with this film. I give it's passable, a mild recommendation. Like you said, for one of them days, I would say see this if you have nothing better to do. I will say, I was just happy to see Jordana Brewster out of a Fast and Furious film. Because I think she's an enchanting and very good actress. I just don't feel like she is given half the chance and half of these films. Because I mean, she started well with The Faculty, then she got tied into Fast and the Furious, and the only other thing you'd see her in the odd indie film, and then was it Lethal Weapon the series? But then that was it, And now I feel like now she's kind of in that actors where now she's being forced to play older, characters instead of leads, because I would have even enjoyed her being the lead in this film. No offense to Olivia Holt. I don't think she's a bad actor. She's just not that engaging. It's like, what separates you from a bunch of other young actresses? At least the other cast members, they have a look, they have a feel. Andre, what did you think of Hard Eyes?
Midway through watching this film, I start to realize what it reminded me of, and that was Moonlighting. Because if you watch any episode of Moonlighting, the physical jeopardy of Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis whenever they're on a case is never really that taken seriously. In fact, if you could ask anybody a plot of a Moonlighting episode, they can't tell you, but they can remember any time that their relationship was getting close or strained, or Mark Harmon comes in to try to mess things up. And so this is what I felt here, which was that the horror elements were not taken seriously, but the romance was so emphasized to be the thread line all throughout. And that's where I think it suffers, because the two leads are just not that engaging to really make it work. And I 100% agree that the female friend should have been the lead character, because she had something more interesting going on performance-wise than Olivia Holt, who probably would have been better as just like the boss. That probably would have been a better fit for her. And, listen, Jordy, your friend, Miss Brewster, I thought was decent and, very sultry in that interrogation room scene, if you know what I mean. But here's the other problem, and hopefully this is not getting into spoiler territory here, but you can kind of see the twist from a mile away when a certain character comes into play and another character disappears at a very crucial moment in the story. That's when even when you think it's over and it's not, you have your little fake out. That's where I think the movie kind of lost me. And it had so much more potential than that, even for somebody like Christopher Landon. And I have a similar issue with that with his other movie, Drop, which when we review that, I got some shit to say there. Otherwise, yeah, I think it's just mild recommendation for me. I think it's passable, but it's not anything original. And if it had better leads, I think it probably would have held up a little better.
Yeah, because it reminded me, again, of Freaky, a movie I liked, but it was more about concept first, characters later. And that's what this film felt like. And yes, to explain, I once was in an acting class with Jordana Brewster. That's okay. So it's not like, oh, we talk all the time, and I'm giving a bias vote because I talk to her. I wish. Jordana Brewster, please come on the show.
Yes.
To interview you. But that's my explanation for that. And also, you have Devin Sawa in the film, and you barely use him. This is a man, this is a horror veteran, and you kind of just like use him like, I don't know, like he's Harry Dean Stanton. Like, okay, you're here for 2 scenes, then we're gonna push you out.
He's starting to become interchangeable with Boyd Holbrook and that kid from Tron, the white
Jared Leto.
No, not Jared Leto. Jared Hedlund.
I guess tone of voice always is how I can tell both of them apart. But Devin Sawa is noticeably older than them. I mean, he was doing great work on Chucky. But
He was playing new characters every season. He was doing well.
exactly. And now he's like, I got to take this thankless role. And yeah, the Hobbs and Shaw joke. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was like, really, you want to take a shot at The Rock because you're pissed off. I think you wasted some ammo there.
I'm just wondering, like, who was up other than Mason Gooding for the male lead? I mean, if Michael B. Jordan wasn't IP crazy and they could afford it, I wouldn't have mind seeing him in this role. And that charm, that kind of, like you said, Bruce Willis kind of quality, that wisecracking but charming anyway. I'm rooting for Michael B. Jordan as long as he stays away from IPs. So our next, again, mild recommendation from me, and would you say a mild recommendation?
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite scene? And
It involves something that happens with Devon Sawa that was unexpected, and I can't spoil it.
I know. Okay, my favorite scene is the most unbelievable scene in the film, which is I don't believe everybody would go to a drive-in to see His Girl Friday.
Yeah, that was like what you could have picked any other movie. You could have picked My Bloody Valentine. Why a classic Hawks movie?
Exactly, and expect young people to show up for it. It's like, come on. Though that scene did play like a Simpsons episode because it's like, hey, there's a serial killer that hates Valentine's Day. Let's all go to the drive-in and show our love. And then he shows up, and everybody's shocked. I'm just like, though, I mean, I felt also like that sex scene in the car that played off more for comedy. I felt like that was just there for exploitive reasons, So, let's move on to our next film, Companion, written and directed by Drew Hancock. It stars Jack Quaid, Lucas Gage, Sophie Thatcher, Megan Surrey, Harry Gillian, and Rupert Fried. This film, I'm trying to talk about this film without getting into spoiler territory. Andre, how would you describe the plot of this film?
Well, it starts out looking like it's a group of friends on a getaway at a summer house or some getaway house, and crazy things happen. And then there's sort of a Me Too kind of allegory that plays out throughout the story. So the trailer doesn't quite tell you what this movie really is. And I kind of liked it. It was sort of futuristic sci-fi, but mixed with that sort of horror element and Jack Quaid being crazy and creepy, but not in the way you expect, just, timely. And the girl that he's obsessed with,
Megan Surrey.
Megan Surrey, was also very good for what her character turns out to be.
Yeah, watching the film, I felt like the two actresses at either point could have switched roles because they were both that good. Megan Surrey kind of playing the careless femme fatale. But I'll tell you, surprisingly, what touched me more was kind of the gay couple's story.
Yeah.
I felt like that was more touching than the lead couple's role. And I kind of felt sorry for those two characters, even though, kind of they're villainous. But I kind of really wanted more, like, it would have been more interesting if that was the main story. And then the straight couple was that other, like, kind of side story. But Companion, I liked. I didn't need to see it in theaters, which I didn't, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I felt like it was kind of like a Black Mirror episode, just not as dark.
Yeah.
I have no problem with Jack Quaid as an actor, but maybe after seeing, spoiler, his role in Scream movies, I'm just like, I always kind of have a suspicion about him more. It's not like, oh, no, not Jack Quaid. It's just sort of like, yeah, I can see that.
It's his dad's grin. It tells you everything you need to know.
Well, it doesn't help his dad playing a serial killer in a TV series right now either. Even though he's a Republican and a Trump, I don't know there's something likable about Dennis Quaid.
I like Enemy Mine. I can't let it go.
I like Dreamscape.
Which I would love to remake.
Okay, that would be interesting. Can you bring back George Wendt?
Probably have to CGI him in.
I mean, come on. What was that Megan Good movie he was in?
Oh, the creepy, like he's got a thing for the sisters and wants to sexually molest them.
He likes hot chocolate. Make a sequel to that where he has to fight Jonathan Majors. It is so. That was his last good one for Dennis Quaid. But yeah, this film I enjoyed. I liked it. It's not quite as memorable as, let's say, something like Heretic, since Sophie Thatcher's in this. Yeah. But I think Sophie Thatcher has a good movie career ahead of her. She keeps taking these interesting choices because she blows it out of the park. And I haven't seen the latest season of Yellow Jackets, but she was good on that show too, from the episodes I guess I've seen. So I would give this a recommendation. And And
Yeah, I'm recommendation too.
do you have a favorite scene?
It's something to do with the one gay guy and what he ends up doing near the end. That's all I could say.
Okay. I think I like the scene where we see something play out, but then we see it play out from a different vantage, and
Yeah.
that is my favorite scene. So that's a double recommend on Companion. Next, we take on writer, director, editor, cinematographer Steven Soderbergh's spy film Black Bag. That was written by David Coep, the only job Steven Soderbergh did not do on the film, and starring in a kind of a return to the screen for Michael Fassbender, Kate Blanchett, Tom Burke, Marissa Abella, Rajay John Bate, there is Naomi Harris, and Pierce Brosnan. Um, this is a spy thriller about basically a group of spies and how they kind of intersect, and one of them might be a mole or a turncoat. And the film explores that Michael Fassbender's wife in the film, played by Kate Blanchett, who's more of a field agent, might be the turncoat or the enemy from within. What I liked about the film is that the film plays like a relationship drama as well as a spy film. And I felt like I just, I think that people expecting action are going to be disappointed because this film's action is more revolves around suspicion and conversations. It's kind of a thriller version of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Because at first I thought this was only going to be about Michael Fassbender and Kate Blanchett's relationship, but then we get into other characters' relationships and how they're intersecting. And Tom Burke has already impressed me in the movie The Souvenir, not so much in Furiosa, where I barely recognize them. But Marissa Abella is getting herself a nice little resume together from this film. And I know people hated it, but I thought she did a decent job in the Amy Winehouse bio film. And she's on an HBO show that I don't watch. But she held her own in her scene with these accomplished actors. And I always want more Naomi Harris on screen. So I was happy with her performance. The only weak link, I hate to say, Rajay John Page, I thought was kind of the weak link out of this cast, out of all the actors. Because his character just seems kind of, by the end, so ridiculous that you're just like, eh? And I felt like Pierce Brosnan was only here because of his 007 pass. Because really, it's really more of a cameo than anything throughout the whole film. And they give him like a fake nose for no reason. So I was just like, okay. But having said all that, I think this is one of the better Steven Soderbergh recent films because I was engaged from beginning to end. Once I realized there's not going to be any action in this movie. In fact, there's a bombing scene that they play in the trailer, which I felt like they only filmed for the trailer and to show what happens if information falls into the wrong hand. That's it. But I'm going to shock everybody. I give it a high recommendation. It's, Andre, what did you think of Black Man?
I mean, look, I applaud Steven Soderbergh doing something original, and I don't mind if a movie like this is mostly conversation and just building on tension rather than like big action sequences. I was just bored. I felt like so many of the scenes just felt like watching paint dry, and it's probably because of the way he shot. So much of it is just very dark and moody, and that really doesn't get me already sucked in. I feel like I'm just sitting in the living room watching people talk. And yeah, I couldn't even tell you what the movie was really about, so I can't recommend it.
Well, see, I felt like the dark and moodiness was to make it more intimate, get you and let you get to know the characters so that you're kind of like interested in them and kind of hoping, oh, I hope they're not the turncoat. So I felt like that worked for me, and I especially enjoyed Michael Fassbender when he's interrogating all and he's being bossy because it's the only time in the film that he's really showing his dominance throughout the whole film. and that he's basically figured everything out at that point. So I'm sorry you didn't like it, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. So that is a split decision on Black Bat. Next, we talk about this film's a little controversial. You'll see why. We're going to talk about Havoc, that premiered on Netflix. It's by writer-director Gareth Evans from the Raid films. It stars Tom Hardy, Timothy Olyphant, Jessie May Lee, Forrest Whitaker, Quinlan Spilivita, and Jason Cornwall. And basically, Tom Hardy is a detective who's torn between a rock and a hard place because he's in the pocket of corrupt politician Forrest Whitaker, and he has to somehow save Forrest Whitaker's son and his son's girlfriend, who were in the wrong place at the wrong time. And a bunch of gangsters think that they murdered this queen pin son, when actually it's a bunch of dirty cops who Tom Hardy used to run with, and now they want to kill them because, of course, if the mob gets to them, they might be able to prove that it wasn't them. So it's a cat and mouse game. I really enjoyed this film, and I always like Gareth Evans films. Though there are many problems with this movie, but it's not 100% his fault because the film was completed and then COVID happened. And then by the time they could try to shoot anything picked up, obviously physically the actors had changed from when he started the film. So you have to do these reshoots and kind of tie it all in together. And in some scenes, you could tell time has passed just by the look of Tom Hardy, But I mean, if you're looking at this from a pure action film point of view, I think as an audience member, you'll enjoy it. But there were some weird choices. Like, this film was filmed in Wales, but the look of the film, like, especially that grubby store he tries to get his daughter a Christmas present, I would have accepted it in some kind of futuristic, like, city, like, let's say the Crow, like some fantasy made up city. I would have accepted it more. And my major problem was you have Timothy Olyphant as a major cast member, but you don't even really give him anything to do other than just be mean in certain scenes and shocked by his like cruelty and violence. But other than that, and Forrest Whitaker has kind of a throwaway role here, which is even less than he got in that Keanu Reeves movie Street Kings as the villain, but kind of in the same mode. Though all the action sequences are awesome, like the shootout at the cabin, which is ridiculous, but so gratifying. The club shootout, I'm going to give it a recommendation. Not a mile. I'm going to give it a recommendation because I think it's enjoyable despite the sum of its parts. Andre, what did you think of him?
I'm with you. I think the action scenes are top notch, especially the cabin shootout near the end. I thought Gareth Evans really did his thing there. Some of it also is a little bit kind of loopy, like the whole truck chase in the beginning. And look, I've done a whole car chase that was all CG. That clearly looked like CG, and I felt kind of disappointed with that because it's Netflix, and if you're going to spend a lot of money, why not with the guy that did The Raid, who could probably do an amazing car chase if he really had the budget? So that was probably the one little letdown that I had there. But otherwise, the action was great. I just didn't care for the characters all that much. I mean, Tom Hardy is sort of like a gray area type of cop. So sometimes you're with him, sometimes you're not. The politician's son and the girl he has to protect, I didn't care for them. The villains were just kind of throwaway, so kind of a little bit of a waste for Timothy Olyphant to be there. And the same, like you said, with Forrest Whitaker. And why is Luis Guzman in here just to get killed off and have like that one little sympathetic moment? I mean, that seemed like a waste.
That's the first time he's been dramatic in years.
And he doesn't wear a robe.
Yes, he's fully clothed. And he actually moved in a scene. He's not just standing there or sitting down, And it looks like he might have lost weight over the years. So,
depending on the year they shot.
I was happy to see him either way. But I guess my thing is, I also would have liked to see the female mob boss have something more to do, because everybody fears her, but other than shooting like the other lieutenants, that's the only time we see her be badass. And I kind of wish her female assassin would have lived a little longer to like kind of show her skills off a little more. Because I liked, I guess, Tom Hardy's female partner, but he didn't have any gravitas where I really was like, whoa, she's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
And I just felt sorry for the guy who's the cop in the hospital, his wife. And the film is so cruel to her, just like assassinating her, overkill, her and her husband. And it was just like, damn, that's fucked up. This movie is kind of cold.
This movie just is more in love with its action scenes and actually telling a compelling story with relatable characters.
Yeah, the character work. The only one they get in deep is with Tom Hardy, and the questionable scene where his partner goes to his wife. It is like, oh, have you seen such and such? And she's like, no. And she knows he works for Dirty Cops, but she's like, but sometimes he likes to go to his house, this cabin in the woods. And it's like, you don't even know this lady, and you just like gave your husband up. Which in the back of my mind was like, does she want Tom Hardy to die? Because she's like, you're already a lousy father. Die, motherfucker. So thought that was like a little ridiculous. And like I said, really, this is the best you can do as a gift for your daughter. This shitty looking, dirty looking rabbit. I'm just like, but I give it a recommendation. Like I said, if you're an action head, go for this film. You're gonna enjoy it. It's one of the better Netflix. Like, if Netflix it could get action films right, this is how action is supposed to be when you put money into it. And I looked forward to it sort of like what was that film that came out earlier this year with Don Johnson?
Oh, Rebel Ridge.
Yeah, I was hoping it was gonna be another Rebel Ridge, where it's like, oh, this was totally worth the wait. And while it's good, I don't feel like it was worth the wait, if that makes sense. If it had been maybe a little tighter plot-wise and acting-wise, then I could give it a high recommendation. But still, I say if you like action, check it out. Lang, if you're watching this episode, you're going to love it. And we come to our final film, and it's kind of a popular one. It is Thunderbolts. Should we say its new title, or should we keep that a secret?
Fuck the new title.
Okay, so we're just going to call it Thunderbolts. It's directed by Jake Schreier. And, I mean, come on, if you're a Marvel movie fan, you know it. You got Florence Pugh, newcomer Louis Pullman as Sentry. You have Wyatt Russell as U.S. Agent. Hannah John Carmen as Ghost. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I don't remember her character's name.
Valentina Contessa Fontaine.
Yeah, say that. I would never have remembered all that. David Harbour as
Red Guardian.
And Sebastian Stan as Bucky. And Geraldine Vishwan. I don't remember her character's name, but damn, she's cute. Andre, you're more the Marvel fan, so I'll let you talk about the film first.
Well, initially, I think I was like a lot of people. I wasn't really into this idea. There wasn't anything exciting about it for me with the trailers. I like, why are we wasting these B-list, D-list characters that should just be on Disney Plus rather than in a theatrical film? So my expectations going into Thunderbolts were pretty low, and coming out of it, I said, you know what? This is probably one of the better post-Endgame movies that Marvel has put out. Now, I still would say I liked Spider-Man No Way Home and Deadpool Wolverine a lot better. And it's probably a cut above Wakanda Forever, because, I mean, Wakanda Forever was just very emotional and had more weight to it. But this felt more closer to, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy in just the relationships and the sort of dysfunctional family dynamic that all the characters have. Garth Pugh holds it together. I thought Wyatt Russell was great. Hannah John Kamen actually is used better here than she was in Ant-Man and the Wasp. They actually were able to do something with Ghost. One character in particular was wasted, and if you see the movie, you'll know who I'm talking about here. And I thought Louis Pullman was great as the Sentry, because my friend Thomas Melendez made me read those Sentry comic books, so I already knew going in what that character was all about. And I think they nailed his storyline for the most part, even if it wasn't the way that my friends really wanted to see it as, but I thought they did fine there. And listen, I tolerated the lady from Seinfeld as sort of the villain. I want to see her get killed off, but clearly they want to save her for more Marvel adventures to come. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing really innovative about it. It's pretty much, formulaic Marvel, but it's not downplaying messages or trying to do the girl boss thing. It's pretty much pretty even for the most part in terms of balancing characters, telling a dark story, especially the third act I thought was really phenomenal what they did there with the Sentry and how they had to stop him. So it wasn't just going to be like, oh, we got to stop this end of the world destruction. It's something a little bit more intimate and personal. Um, so I actually give this a pretty high recommendation for like one of the better Marvel movies that are out there. Now, do I think it saves the MCU? Probably not. I still think there's going to be some concerns going forward, but I think if they could stay on this track, they have a good shot to turn things around in a few years.
Well, Thunderbolts, or as I call it, Marvel's Suicide Squad. um, I thought it was okay. I think the third act is what pushed it over the top for me, where I was like, okay, this is actually a good film, because that is what depression is like. You feel like you're in a black hole, reliving things, overthinking, and ending up beating yourself up, and it's not really solving anything. And so I felt like that aspect of the film worked. I like the cast. I agree with you that one character goes way too early. Hannah John Kamen. Yes, I was happy he was used and much more useful than he was in one of those Ant-Man films. I have no problem with Julia Louise-Dreyfus's villain. I thought they could have made her backstory a little juicier when we get to see her past as a child. Um, she doesn't really bother me. Um, Half the time I feel like David Harbour's here just for comedic purposes. Sebastian Stan, versatile actor, but I feel like sometimes in the back of his mind he's like, "This is so paycheck." It's like, go to an independent film after this. I'm gonna go play Donald Trump after this, and not get an Oscar nomination and totally shunned. So, I liked Wendell Pierce being in this film. Again, maybe a little too much with the political angle of everything in certain scenes. But, I like everybody having repercussions and things from their past being revealed, like U.S. agents' past, and trying to kind of come back from it. Um, like I said, it was okay. I'd recommend it, but I'm not over the top about it. I'm not, again, I don't go to see every Marvel film, but this was worth the trip to the theater. I can see why they're giving the director X-Men. I didn't necessarily see anything in this film where I'd be like, yeah, he should totally do X-Men, except that it's an ensemble film.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe I'll eat my words and he'll knock it out of the park. But like I said, I give this film, a recommendation. I don't think you'll be disappointed watching, but you're not going to be bowled over by it either. Did you have a favorite scene in the film?
Yeah, it's what the Sentry ends up doing near the end that was like kind of a holy shit moment and figuring out how they actually going to stop him.
Yeah. I would say my favorite scene is the return of Bucky Barnes. That is my favorite sequence out of the whole film. But like I said, I know somewhere Stephen Yeun is pissed considering he was supposed to play Sentry.
Well, I think A.O. Betty's, dodged the bullet because she was supposed to play the assistant to Val.
Who was supposed to play?
A.O. Eneberry.
I could see her playing it, but I could go either way. But it would have been a thankless role for her. But for Geraldine, it's kind of a, another kind of like, oh, maybe people will notice me and cast me in more, because she is definitely talented, definitely funny, definitely cute as a button, and she's a good actress. So, not all those things you usually find in a Marvel movie. So, my complaint, I didn't feel like the 2 sequences in the credits. I didn't need them.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I know that, of course, the last one, they feel like, oh, we need this to hype up something, but it was just like, this is scum. So, that is our review of Thunderbolts, which we both recommend. You don't necessarily have to, think this is going to save Marvel, because keep waiting.
Yeah.
And that is all our film reviews for this week. So, but this ends our business for this episode. But we always have unfinished business in the future. But before we go, have you seen The Raid 2? If not, why not? Because it's fucking awesome. Andre, what movie would you say the people need to check out?
Have you seen The Package with Gene Hackman? If not, why not? Because it's fucking awesome.
You with the Gene Hackman. Rest in peace, Gene Hackman. And that ends our episode for this week. We'll see you next time, folks.
If you like this review, please be sure to like and hit subscribe to be alerted to new episodes in the future.